All right, I want to welcome everybody here to our call tonight, and our topic basically is going to be, have you ever felt like you're falling short? I know for myself, I think I fall short every day, and as far as what I should do on a day-to-day basis, but going back 20-some years ago, I fell short constantly. I was constantly always at the end of the day, just didn't feel like I was really accomplishing exactly everything I was supposed to be accomplishing. So if you've ever felt that you fall short in some way or another on just on your goals, on the day, on what you have to get done, on life, we're going to spend a little bit of time and talk a little bit about that, and kind of a little technique that I use to help pick myself up each and every day, to be able to have that feeling that we're not feel like we're falling short each and every day. So let's see if I can get the PowerPoint here on the computer to work and advance like it should. But we don't want to we don't live up to our own expectations or the expectations of others. Have you ever felt that way before? I know soon after I lost my daughter, I know people, I think, expect certain things from you when you're grieving, especially after loss, family, friends, things like that. What they expect, I don't know, but I know for myself when I was going through that, there were certain expectations I thought what I should do on a day-to-day basis, what I need to do on a day-to-day basis, how I should respond each and every day, how I should respond to them, and and then asking myself the question, what were their expectations of me? And then feeling that I fell short of whatever those expectations were. I've heard stories about people going back to work, all those things where they feel like they're, they tell you, it's been 2 weeks, 2 months, whatever the case is, 2 years, you should be over your grief, you should be able to go on about your life without any problem. But, I don't know what people's expectations are. If they haven't walked in your shoes, how can they even begin to know what your expectations are to what it is that you're going through, what you're feeling, your emotions on that day, on a day-to-day basis? So, from that standpoint, it's difficult to feel that you live up to your own expectations. Sooner or later, we all fall short. Okay. And if I was to ask you the question, if you're falling short, how does that make you feel? Okay, how do you feel when you fall short on a project? You fall short on, maybe somebody expects something from you. Maybe you're having a really bad day and you have to call and cancel an appointment, or cancel a dinner party, or cancel, a family event because you feel like you just felt like you've fallen short. When something like that happens to you, how do you feel? Okay. Regardless of how you feel, I just want to say, it's okay. It's okay for you to feel that way. It's okay for you to go through that type of emotion or those feelings. And falling short, like I said, sooner or later, if you haven't felt that you fell short in some area of your life or whatever it is you're going through, sooner or later, you probably are going to have that emotion of feeling like you fell short. These things just they happen from time to time. Okay, whatever they are that causes you to feel that way, but nobody bats 1,000. Okay, I think we would agree with that. Or nobody lands a hole in one every time, and being able to go out and play golf and put the ball right in the hole every time. It just doesn't happen. So when we strike out on that day, regardless of what our intentions are each and every day, of what we expect for that day, whether it be good, or we want an excellent day, but maybe we just fall short by the end of that day. We just feel like the day didn't turn out like we wanted it to. Somebody said something, maybe we ran across something that was a trigger for us, and it caused us to reflect upon something in our past, and it's like, and so it just turns around and it has a negative effect on you on the end of that, by the end of the day. You know, when you feel that way, it's just like, you know, if you were online right now, you'd be looking at my PowerPoint slide. But you know, when you feel like that, it's like this guy. I have a picture of a guy sitting here, or he's not sitting; he's actually falling through the sky. And so if you know, so when you feel like this guy, just like the guy falling, does it feel that you are, you know, out of control, that you don't have a whole lot of control in your life? And you know, how do you get that back? You know, I shared something today in an email that I sent out. I don't know if everybody got the email, if you're on my list, but I just wanted to share something with you. And I really took that. I posted this out on my Facebook page, sent it out on Twitter. But you know, this is something that really that I have it in this book right here, but that I really talk about. It's that grief, or no, actually growth. It talks about growth. It's a, you know, to be able to grow, it's a forward movement. You know, we take 2 steps forward, but we sometimes take 2 steps forward. We take 1 step backwards. Okay. So, hello, Susan. How are you doing? So from that standpoint, it's like we take 1 step backwards, but it's a gentle, you know, you have to remind yourself to be gentle with yourself. So you feel that you fell short because you actually took a step backwards, but you're still 1 step further than what you were before. But you know, and you have to remind yourself of this you know, don't be so critical on yourself when you fall short on something. And so, you know, from that standpoint, you feel that, you know, you are capable of great things on Tuesdays, for example. And I really like this part in this book. He talks about, you know, you're capable of great things on Tuesday, but then come Wednesday, and you have a down day. You fall short on Wednesday, you know. But you know, we're going to have those days where we, you know, feel like we're, you know, making progress, and then we have that one day that we don't. And then the other part he talks about, you know, very often that, you know, we have a week of insights where we learn a lot through that week. We have a lot of insights through that week, and it's followed by a week of sluggishness. You know, a week that we just don't have any momentum, and at the end of that week we feel that we fell short. You know, so we have a tendency to focus on the negative. So when we fall short on something, we don't feel like we accomplished anything. But I think you have to really look at, you know, exactly, you know, where you've been, what you've done, what you've accomplished up to that point. And I'm doing great, Susan. We hopefully, let me say this: we are out here with a lot of storms here in Ohio. Our power's been flickering on and off, so hopefully we can keep the power up and we can get through this call here tonight, so we don't lose that. But you know, but the biggest thing is this is totally normal. He talks about here. It's totally normal. Growth occurs in spurts. You know, in 20-some years of my life, I never really looked at it that way. And so 20 years, you know, I never really looked at my growth as being in spurts. You know, it's like you'd have those days where you didn't feel like you accomplished what you should have accomplished and you fell short. So I felt like the whole year, the whole week was just a waste of time. You know, I talk a lot about being lost in the fog, okay? You know, 20 years of my life being lost in the fog, not knowing where I was, for example. So then I turn around and try to find my way out, and then you get these little glimpses, and you start searching for what it is that you're looking for, and so it's just, and then you think you find it. You think you find what it is you're looking for, only to find out that that's not what it is at all. And so where do you go from there? So you know, how do you, you know, it's just really taking these little steps, understanding the growth, okay? Understanding, just like I just read here, the growth is a movement, 2 steps forward, 1 step backward. Remembering to be very gentle with yourself, and then it's really a grieving process, is a recovery, and it's a healing process. And you are capable of great things on Tuesdays, but on Wednesdays you may have a sluggish day. You may have a bad day on Wednesday. And you may slide backwards a little bit. This is totally normal. Growth occurs in spurts. You will be dormant sometimes. I never really thought about it. That's that's kind of like that. You're being lost in the thought, really dormant. It's like you really have no coherent thought. I think you look back and it's like you don't even remember yesterday. I don't know if you've ever felt that way before. I know I have, and that so don't get discouraged. Just think of it this way. Think of it as you are in a resting place. You're resting. Your mind is resting. It's like, okay, I'm not going to take on too much today, and so I just maybe slip back a little bit and just take it on from there. And so from that standpoint, if you feel like you fall short in life or you fall short in a particular day, when I realize that I'm falling short, for example, I try to catch myself before falling and hitting the ground, okay? And I remind myself of this simple little thing that when these things happen. And what this is the best that I can do is the best that I can do at that particular given moment. I don't, when I talked a little bit ago about expectations of others, when other people have certain expectations of us, it really doesn't matter. I don't care what their expectations are. The only one that has to answer to me is me. And so from that standpoint, when I feel like I'm falling short and I don't get to where I'm going, or I don't feel like I've reached where I was supposed to be going, so I just remind myself the best that I can do, that's just it. That's the best that I can do. And just kind of remind yourself of that over and over again. And then, remember this other here. We're always doing our best. Okay, even at that particular moment in time, our best didn't quite measure up to what we should have been doing or how we felt. Okay, and then I think a lot of us are really hard on ourselves, and we're really hard, and we beat ourselves up because I think we expect more out of ourselves than what a lot of other people expect out of us. Okay, you have to understand that the whole grieving process is a healing process. We have to focus on the future. We have to focus on, where we're going in life. I talk about this a lot, almost every call, every week, but, a car has a huge windshield, and that windshield is, huge, and you have a rear view mirror, and the rear view mirror is a real small, and so, that just tells you that we should be looking where we're going a lot more than looking in the rear view mirror where we've been. And, so from that standpoint, it's like, we spend more time focused on where we've been. And so I think a lot of times we don't. So our expectations of what we expect for that day, that week, that month, that year, whatever it is or where you're at, I think we hold ourselves to a much higher level of expectations. But at the same time, and then we spend more time concerned about what other people expect from us. Okay, and so it's okay to cancel appointments. It's okay to tell your friends you can't go to lunch. It's okay to do these things when you have these days where you don't measure up. You just fall short. That's okay. Go back and say, I'm doing the best that I can do, and that's all I can do is the best that I can do. And at that particular moment in time, just look at it and say, I need some downtime. I'm resting, and just think of it that way. And so, these things are things that it took me years to learn these things and to understand them. And, and it's funny. Here's the funny thing about all this is, and the magical thing about doing our best is that it makes tomorrow even that much better. Okay. When I saw this, I thought to myself, man, that's like, almost it's childish in some ways, but at the same time, we don't think about it. If we have a good day today, regardless of what it is, tomorrow can be a better day. Okay, we always have tomorrow. All right, and so again, focused on where you're going, setting some plans, making those expectations and what you expect for yourself, but understand that it's okay, that you can do your best if you fall short, and don't set the bar so high that it makes it tough. In business we talk a lot about, you want to make $1 million, but before you can make $1 million, you got to make $1. Okay, before you can make $100, you got to make $10 or whatever that is. So people have a tendency in business to set their expectations so high, and then they find out it's not easy. It's a lot of hard work, and that is where the frustrating part comes in. just as it is in life when we've suffered a tragic event in our life, just like I believe that life events cause us to become disempowered. And then we turn around and we give our power to something else in our life that, takes all our focus and takes our energy, and we feel drained. And then then if you don't think you fall short now, then you're really falling short then, right? So here's a little something that you can do to kind of remind yourself. Everybody has Post-it notes, right? We all have these little Post-it notes laying around. Take this little Post-it note, write this down, stick it all around the house. Stick it in up on your mirror in your bathroom, on your refrigerator, in your car, dashboard, on your computer screen, wherever you can see these things. And just remind yourself, the best that I can do is the best that I can do. Okay? So that is probably the biggest thing. And and don't expect too much out of the day. Don't expect a lot of things. And yes, Tracy, I just saw your note there. And I'm thinking of you, Tracy. I know that can be real tough. If you hear my granddaughter in the background is crying, I have a 2-year-old granddaughter here too, along with dogs, other kids, and I don't know. Our house can get really crazy sometimes. But Tracy, yeah, I'm thinking of you right now, and I know it's hard, and there will be a lot of hard days ahead. But that saying right there, Tracy, I think you need to live it, eat, breathe it, eat it, whatever. The best that you can do, Tracy, right now is the best you can do. Don't hold yourself in too, your expectations of yourself too high, and just, take it one day at a time. Don't think about tomorrow. You get up in the morning, just think about today. Make a plan. Make a plan each day. Make sure you get up. Make sure you function. Make sure you get out and go do the things you need to do. But don't be afraid to tell people that you can't. Okay. I remember after my daughter was buried, that first week after she was buried, everybody's life went back to normal, right? My life didn't. Your life didn't. We come home to a home that's not the same, and everybody else's life seems to go on. Well, there's this big, huge community in this club that nobody really wants to be part of, but we're here. We're here to support each other and do what we can. But just take those Post-it notes, put those around your house, put those places, and understand the best that we can do is the best we can do. And remind yourself that each and every day. And each and every day you'll get a little better at where you're going and what you're doing. Okay? So, whatever the result is, okay, whatever the results are for that day or that week, that month, just remember, keep doing your best each and every day. And so, just remember, 1 + 1 = the result, okay? Also, remember, what you focus on will bring about those particular results. So if you're focusing on the rearview mirror, what's behind you right now, remember, you're going to get more of those results in your life. But if I focus out that windshield and looking forward to where I'm going, even if it's just trying to get to lunchtime, okay, or trying to get to dinner, or getting to a family event or one of the other kids' sporting events or whatever it is, and I have to put on a good face like I'm not in pain, okay? First thing I tell anybody is don't put on a face and don't, there's a saying in business and other things, fake it till you make it. I don't subscribe to that philosophy. So in this case, don't worry about it. It doesn't matter what anybody thinks, okay? The only one that has to be in judgment is you, of yourself, and you know exactly how you're feeling at that particular point in time, and you know exactly where you're going. So remember that. Keep doing your best each and every day, even if it's just a little bit, and then remember, 1 + 1 = the result, okay? So it's whatever that result is that you're wanting to do, and keep doing those and taking those little steps. And that's exactly what I was getting ready to say, one foot in front of the other. And I think we're reading each other's minds here a little bit. Anyways, so what's the next big thing? Okay, if you think of this as a big sign, like a road sign, exit 100, for example. If you're on my PowerPoint, that's what I've got here. But the next big thing. Okay, where are we going? What is it that we're looking for? Well, you wake up every morning feeling inspired. You feel re-energized, ready to take on the world once again, okay? Okay, if you fall short, just remember, you keep moving, making those little steps and in the direction you want to go. Just small little steps. It doesn't, some people say measure your improvement, but in this case, when it comes to grief, I don't subscribe to that really. I think we can measure our grief and our feelings and our emotions on how we feel, how we relate to other people, what we're doing on our day-to-day lives. Are we going to work, or where are we at in what it is that we're doing at that particular point in time, but if you can wake up feeling inspired, okay, to maybe you feel re-energized in the morning, ready to take on that day, but then 9 o'clock in the morning comes, you get a phone call, or you watch TV, you see something, I know, for example, my daughter drowned in a pool. Coming into springtime, it's real big. I see people getting pools ready, everything else. So there's a lot of triggers for me in the springtime. I love the springtime. Love the flowers. Love this time of year. It's new birth, new life, new everything. But at the same time, it can be a very tough time for me, even 23 years later. But I also realize that my daughter has blessed me in so many ways and given me so many gifts and has allowed me to learn so much about life. I would say I wouldn't have learned otherwise, okay? But maybe the things I would, if she was here, the things that I would have learned might have been totally different than what I have learned. So I believe there's a purpose in that, and it's my responsibility to find that purpose, and I believe I have, and it's given my life new meaning, it's given my life new purpose, and it allows me to wake up inspired. It allows me to re-energize. It allows me to turn around and connect with other people, because part of that is my daughter. Part of that is my daughter working through me, through others, that allows her inspiration to move on. In my short story, I share a little bit about something when I was a teenager, 14 years old, and my high school soccer coach, he would teach, and of course, he's teaching us how to play sports and soccer, but he shared with me, he says, if I teach you one little thing and you go on and teach somebody else, he says, I could be dead and gone, buried, and then he says, and then you teach somebody else, and that person teaches somebody else. He says, there's a part of me that lives on through that person, even though they don't know me. Well, in this case, if I teach something here that helps somebody, and then they go on and they do the same thing, and they help somebody and take one little nugget, one little thing that they've learned and that they could apply to their life, that they get some success, and they feel that, they've raised the bar for themselves, and even though they understand that they're falling short in some areas of their life, but then they can turn around and make a difference in somebody else's life because they've experienced and learned from their own life lessons. Now they can turn around. There's part of my daughter that now lives through that experience. That person may never know anything about my daughter. They may know nothing about her story. But you know what? Her memory lives on through all that. To me, that is very powerful. And so that's my goal, is to empower millions of people to reach inside themselves, find what is good in them, and turn around and inspire them to start looking at life, start moving forward, taking the steps, one step at a time, understand it's okay to fall short, but then don't be so critical on yourselves, and then be able to take your life back. And over time, you can do that, because one of the biggest cures to grief, everybody says, and it's true, is get moving. Okay, when we sit in our houses, we sit in our rooms, we don't get dressed, we don't do anything, and we just sit there, mope around, watch TV, and at the end of the day, how do we feel? If I don't do anything, I will guarantee you this: you will have the exact same thing you have today as you do tomorrow, and I know nobody really wants that, right? No. So, it's okay to fall short. Keep moving and making those steps in the direction that you want to go. As long as you're taking one step, and you're still one step further ahead, even if you're taking 2 steps forward. So just like in the beginning, I read in that book, growth is about taking 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but understanding, not be critical on yourself, and be gentle, and then respect that you've done good, but at the same time, understand when things don't go, you're at rest, and then understand that you'll have a good week, you'll have a bad week. Tuesdays will be good, but Wednesday may not be so good. And that is all part of the process. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Obviously, you can always talk to me more about something like that if you have more that you'd like to share. But one of the things that I do and that I get a lot of enjoyment from is is talking to others and talking about their stories, what they've learned. Also, not only that, but my biggest thing is I want to know how I can help people to be able to, you know, take their life back or begin to make plans to take their life back. You know, that first year, everybody will totally agree that first year is hell, right? To put it bluntly. You've got to go through all those things that we have to go through that first year. Doesn't necessarily make the second year, third, fourth, or fifth, or sixth year any better, or the 10th or the 20th. Okay. But if you can find something that, if you can find something that you would look at yourself and say, if I can create anything within the next year, in the next 12 months, personally, professionally, and financially, what would it be? Okay? Yeah, hell plus a million times. That's, I think, where the saying comes. Hell on earth, sometimes, we're living hell here on earth, but if you could create something that would be inspirational to yourself, but if you could do that, regardless of what that is, personally, professionally, and financially, what would that be? And that's one of the things that, I think a lot of people, there's three questions I always ask, and that is, where have we been, where are we now, and where we're going. A lot of people, we all know where we've been. We're the only creatures on this earth that can sit back and turn around and talk and think and remember things back when we were little kids and little things. And if you think back now at the youngest point in your life, what is your youngest memory? A lot of times we think of something and our youngest memory is not always its best memory. Mine, I can remember when I was a little kid, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 years old, and I was having trouble being potty trained, and my mother put me in a diaper at, I think, 3, and I remembered playing around like a baby, crawling around the ground as a baby, going, and she says, well, you want a potty in your pants? You can be treated like a baby if you want to be a baby, because that's what babies do. Well, I got it as a little kid, and I behaved exactly like a baby, but it taught me a lesson. I don't think I had a problem after that ever again. But that was something, probably in today's world, that might be something people would frown against. But I guess it worked for me, got me going in the right direction. But that's like my youngest memory that I have today. And so now you're never too old, Tracy. You can remember something. But anyway, so, but we're the only creatures on this earth that have that ability to be able to think of something in our past that is, memorable in that respect. So whether or not that be good or bad, but here's the thing, so we remember where we've been, and we know exactly where we are today. Okay, we may not be able to remember 5 minutes ago or 5 hours ago, but we know where we're at today. We know our emotional state of mind. Okay, we know what we're focused on. And so, so we have to turn around and look at it and say, how can we change our state of mind? How can we change, what we're focusing on? And the easiest way that I've learned is begin to look at that and just, instead of saying, asking the question is, when will this end? When will I feel better? When, I don't have an answer for anybody for those things, because everybody is totally different. But the one thing I will say is if I can make a shift and begin to look towards the future and look towards something that, regardless of what it is, it might be just maybe taking a vacation, or it might be just as simple as to be able to have one complete day, without shedding a tear or without, being down, or have that point in time that maybe, I can drive down that road, or I can go here, or I could go there, or I can just have a conversation and talk and not get all emotional. So, whatever that is, that might be personally, and then we look at, well, where you want to be, professionally, because our workplace, our business is something that can affect us very, very much in life, because I lost my business, 9-10 years after my daughter's death. I almost lost it that first year. but because I wasn't focused on doing what I needed to do, it's just, I wasn't going to get fired. I owned the business. But you know what? If I don't run the business, there's no business to be fired from. And so, so you have to be focused on where you are professionally, because if your professional life, it can cause all kinds of undue stress in your life and make the grieving process that's much tougher. And then you've got the financial end. Where do you want to be 12 months from now financially? Because, sometimes we say, well, if I can take care of my personal things, my business or professional area, and my financial area will take care of itself. Well, sometimes that is the case. But you know what? If I have financial stress in my life and I'm not taking care of things financially, then that can also relate from a standpoint of professionally, and then it affects me personally, and it makes the grieving process that much tougher. Communication is a big part of everything. That's one of the things why I started A Father's Loss, was because there's not a lot of help for men, but at the same time, my marriage ended after 8 years. Now, with that being said, it probably would have still ended. I don't know. I don't know. I blamed the death of my daughter. I blamed all my grief. I blamed that my wife and I grieved totally differently during that period of time, all on that process. So in other words, talking about falling short, as a father, I fell short. As a husband, I fell short because, I didn't do what I was supposed to do as a father, and I didn't do what I was supposed to do as a husband. So I blamed myself, and I felt guilty about all that. I turned to suicide. At one point, I even held a gun up to my head, and I realized I didn't have bullets in the gun. So, and that was an eye-opening experience, because that made me realize that I could have done it, but at the same time, how much more pain and how much more things would have it created for the rest of my family that, so I realized that was a very selfish thing for me to even be thinking about, let alone, act upon. But at the same time, and then people throughout, over the years, people telling me, well, you just have to learn to cope with it. At some point in time, I started questioning that, and it made me a little angry, and I thought to myself, I don't have to cope. I believed that learning to cope is settling where you are, okay? That means the feelings I'm feeling is this is the best that it can get, okay? And I'm here to say that it is so much better than that. It can be so much better than that. So don't let that, you have to learn to cope, yes. You have to learn to get to that certain point in time in your life that you can cope with certain things. But it's still that same process. It's still that process of growth and moving forward, okay? So one of the things when I started The Father's Loss, it was to reach out to fathers and husbands that have lost children, that are suffering, grief, also a divorce and death, which is another word for death of a marriage. And but at the same time, it was also to reach out to the wives, because husbands, we don't understand what our wife's going through. Wives, we don't understand what our husband's going through. And so that was one of the processes I started A Father's Loss a couple of years ago. And then I turned around and I started looking at things from an empowerment standpoint. And I said, I wanted more in life than just learning to cope. I wanted, I got to the point where people would always tell me, I'm sorry for your loss. With the exception of those who understand the loss that I've suffered, just like you guys have suffered, and everybody here online and on Facebook, we've turned around, we feel that we've suffered a loss, and we're the only ones that really understand, right? But you get the average person that tells you that they're sorry for their loss, and I kind of felt like, no, you're not. You're just sorry, you're sorry for my loss, but you're happy because you're not having to experience what I'm experiencing. But I started looking at these people and saying, don't be sorry for me, because my daughter has blessed me in so many ways that you would never even begin to fathom or imagine of what I feel, let alone how blessed I am to have had my daughter, even though it was a very short period of time. But I had the opportunity, whether it was 1 hour, 1 day, 1 week, 1 year, 10 years, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, it doesn't matter. So don't feel sorry for me, for my loss. The only thing I can say to people is death will show up on their doorstep someday. I just hope that the grief that I feel and those like me feel, they will never have to experience that type of loss, because in some cases there's probably no greater loss. But I was talking to a gal today. I don't know if she's listening. If you are, I'm not going to mention any names, but shared her story with me that it's just heartbreaking. We're going to talk tomorrow, and where she's going to tell me more about her story. I'm planning on interviewing and then bringing her story to life a little bit and share that with you all. But at the same time, it also allows me to count my blessings, because I can't even fathom the pain, the grief, and what they go through. And so, so I'm not going to really say much more than that, because I don't want to say a whole lot, because I didn't really ask her permission to really begin to share part of her story. But trust me, you will be hearing about it, because it is a powerful, powerful story, and there is a huge mission there and a huge cause, and we're going to help her put together her mission. We're going to help her put together her cause, what she has to accomplish, because it's important. It's important to her. It's important to her child, her baby, and it's important to others that come before us. So I'm going to begin to wrap this up here a little bit. So one of the things is just remember that growth is a process that we're going to go through. And the grieving process is a healing process, and we'll take a couple steps forward, but only, it's okay to take a step back. But reflect upon that. Don't be critical of yourself. Be gentle with yourself, and don't have huge expectations. There's something I want to share with you coming up. We're in the process of getting all the information together, but we are planning, my wife and I are planning a retreat where we're going to get together in the end of September, 1st of October, in Destin, Florida. Like-minded people like ourselves, people that we can relate to, we can talk to, make new friends, make new relationships, share a little bit about everything that we've gone through and what they've gone through. And so that's going to be coming up. Let me find my calendar here. Not December, June. What is that? July. It's like the last weekend in September. It would be September 29th, 30th, and October 1st is what we're looking at. We'll be in Destin, Florida for that weekend, and we're looking about somewhere maybe 12 to 15 spots for couples, or 12, 15 couples or individuals. It doesn't matter. We'll get the information together, motel, all those things, and we will do our best to try to get a group rate. So those that would like to be able to do this, gives us an opportunity to get away from home, get away from our lives back at home, and be able to enjoy new friendships and learn from one another, but at the same time develop and work on our plans and things. The lights are flickering, but hopefully we'll get finished up here with just maybe another 5 minutes or so to go. So keep an eye out for that information. I'll be sharing that over the next month or so. So we're in the process of really starting to tie things down. We got them down to a couple different motels that we're looking at, or hotels there in the Destin, Florida. I love Destin, Florida. It's on the Gulf Coast, Panhandle of Florida. That time of year ought to be great. It's not real hot. It's not cold. And plus, going into the fall of the year, it's a great time to kindle new friendships and make make new relationships. So with that being said, let's begin to wrap this up here. But I want to let everybody know that I'm offering a 2-hour empowerment session. What I do in this empowerment session is I help you create a crystal clear vision for your life, okay, and relationships, so you can begin to take the power back in your life, and along with the relationships that you have currently in your life, and maybe bring those back, bring the power of those back. Uncover hidden challenges that you may be currently facing in your life today, and be able to and that contribute to your life event, okay? And just my life event, like I said, is my daughter's death back in 1993 when she passed away. But these events are sabotaging your healing and allowing you to live the life that you're meant to live. I sabotaged my life for over 20 years of my life. That's why I say when I was lost in the fog, I would be right on a point of something that I thought was very important to me, what I was searching for, and I would blow it up. Whatever it was, didn't matter. Find a reason. I'd quit that job, start another business, right on the verge of being successful or whatever, come home, I'm out, go off, do something else. I've done everything from an aircraft mechanic to own my own business in 2 stores for 18 years. I then went into banking and finance, was an investment banker, to back into business, and then turn around and then heck, all the way, I became a truck driver. I mean, you name it, I've probably done it. And all in search for something, what I was looking for. And I kept saying over those 20 years of my life, I am not the same person I was back then. Okay? And I realized, of course I'm not. That particular day, June 15th, 1993, changed me as a person, changed my life, turned it upside down, and I never knew that. I wanted to go back to being the person that was, what I was, but what that required is to have everything that I had at that particular point in time, which is a total impossibility. Okay? And so I was sabotaging my own, life. I was sabotaging my own future because I was searching for something that was totally impossible to get. Okay? The other thing is you'll leave this empowerment session totally renewed, re-energized, and inspired to finally begin to live your life once again, okay, on your terms, and feel that you have purpose and you have a worth to live. This is a totally free session. I don't charge anything for it. We'll block 2 hours, 2.5 hours typically, and we will spend that time talking about whatever it is that is on your mind, but we will work hard to put together a plan to do that because it is a healing process. I want to make sure that you're still moving forward, and that's my purpose here. And that's what allows me to get up each and every day to do what it is I do. Well, I hope that I brought some value to you tonight. I hope if you get one small little nugget, I think that the biggest nugget here, if you didn't get it, was that Post-it note. Okay, put that Post-it note up that just says, all I can do is the best that I can do, and just remind yourself of that all the time. And just, that's probably the biggest nugget. Okay, you write yourself little notes to remind yourself tomorrow. So after you go to bed tonight, you wake up tomorrow, it reminds you of exactly what you're supposed to remember to remind yourself of tomorrow. Okay? I don't know. Did that make sense? I don't know. Sometimes I wonder myself. So, this empowerment session is, for a limited time and for a limited number of people. So, through the month of April. So, make sure you take advantage of that because I don't offer it all the time. But at the same time, I'm here to help in any way. Shoot me your questions, any concerns you have, anything I can do to help you. If you just, I'm a good listener. So if it's something you want to talk to me about or whatever it is that you need, I'm here, okay? Message me directly on Facebook. Shoot an email to me at rick@afathersloss.com, and I will respond to you as quickly as possible. Typically, if I'm up and awake, if I'm at my computer, I respond immediately. If not, I have my cell phone, and I get my messages there too. So I will respond as quickly as I can. I'm here to help you in any way I can. If I don't have the answers, we'll get them. If not, we'll also send you where you need to go. So with that being said, you guys are awesome. So I appreciate you spending this time with me. Everybody have a blessed night and much love. And I appreciate each and every one of you. Okay? Good night.